Hi everyone, welcome to Scope. I'm Ben Taylor from Legend. Thanks very much for having me back again this year. Thanks again to Marianne Brown and her team for setting up such a great conference. Obviously we all miss Orlando, but it's great to be here with you today on Zoom. And so let's talk about cell and gene therapy, closing the loop with blockchain. The way we've organized this talk is to explain a little bit about blockchain, its role in these collaborative systems, drill down on clinical ops and clinical supply more generally, and then hone in on the special issues surrounding cell and gene. And we'll try to leave some time for questions at the end, and then we'll see you at the panel for the new normal in a few minutes. So let's do a quick overview. Blockchain is what we call old wine in new bottles. What it's done is reorganize the security in the data model so that a wide group of stakeholders can participate and collaborate without getting access to everybody's information. So you basically work in your own little zone, you see what you need to see, you have a role-based access, you interact with the people that you're supposed to be interacting with, and everybody else does the same thing, and you stay in your lane. It's real time, it's auditable, but the core issue is that the collaborative process all on one system means that there's a single version of the truth. Let's talk about the challenges in healthcare. They've really been highlighted in the last year. What COVID has taught us is that our supply chain is not nearly as resilient as it should be. And what SolarWinds taught us is that those old centralized relational systems are very, very brittle. What happened there? You might have heard more about the COVID than the SolarWinds thing, but they're both super important. On the SolarWinds side, some bad guys, presumably Russians, took over most of the US federal government systems. What they did was they used a software and a backdoor to get into everybody's records. And essentially, it's a little bit like your school janitor who always carried that big ring of keys around, and he was able to get into all the systems. Well, there's somebody in the government can do that, and unfortunately, those people were snookered into sharing those keys with the Russians, and they still have them today. They said it was going to take them about a year and a half to dislodge them. Meanwhile, we don't really know how long they've been there, and they were followed in by their friends from China as well. So the whole thing is a debacle, but why is it the way it is? Well, because people can't resist putting these backdoors into these systems to make them easier. What blockchain does is it gets rid of those backdoors, and it turns a vault into a safe deposit box. And so you key into what you've got, and somebody else can key in if there's a two-person transaction, but the janitor doesn't get a key. So let's talk about how those features are supported in our systems for healthcare. KitChain is our clinical supply, clinical ops application. It has private and escalating notifications. Everything is done with HIPAA, GDPR, and Cal Privacy built in. Why is that? Many, if not most, clinical studies now are transnational, and the assumption is you're going to be sharing that data all over the world. You've really got to do it right. You've got to follow the rules of the road everywhere you go. And then the data science has to be great. Brew Chain is what we're doing on the commercial side. We've fleshed out role-based applications, supply chain abstractions, and deep learning hooks. And finally, our module for membership and credentialing is Xatp, and that's all founded on the fact that members are going to hold their own key pairs. There is no janitor's key ring, and we nor anybody else can get in, break into your system, and get your data out. Let's start with KitChain and the clinical supply. Clinical studies have more than doubled over the last decade, and clinical pharmacies are bursting at the seams. So at UCLA Health, they have 700 clinical studies that they're supporting, and it's a tough, tough job. It's the size of a Costco, and they've got shipments coming in, commercial shipments. They've got short-dated biologicals coming in, all kinds of studies that are ramping up and ramping down. And so it's a tough job. 100 different sponsors at work there, not the least of which would be Pfizer, Merck, GSK, Biogen. They've all got stuff going on. And everybody wants their study to be the best. We were working together with this team of people to try to put together a portal for for folks like UCLA to have one version of the truth to look at, check in on every night, and know what tomorrow is going to bring. And that's called KitChain. So KitChain does product tracking, mutable records for the supply chain, but the big win is the reduced site burden. They're no longer reliant on paper. They can have it all in the palm of their hand, and they can collaborate with all these companies, and only Pfizer sees Pfizer studies, only Merck sees Merck studies, and UCLA only sees UCLA shipments. How do those roles look? Let's drill down on a process, the master order process, and the 6 actors that are working there. You've got the sponsor, who's sort of keeping an eye on things. You've got the CMO, who is the manufacturer pulling everything together. You've got the IRT, who's doing the randomizing and figuring out how to ship it out. And you've got the depot, who actually makes that come true. They're then shipping out through the courier to the site, and they're coordinating with the site in terms of what they're supposed to get, making sure that they're happy with it when they receive it. Quality's got to be there. So let's look at this KitChain project another way, looking at what we call the investigational product flows, and get 360-degree visibility on the active product. So basically, the sponsor has to manage all of these things, but there's all kinds of specialized people, as we all know, across that whole process. You've got the CRO team, you've got the IRT vendor, you've got the depot, you've got the pharmacist, study coordinator, PI, principal investigator, and the CRA, who's got a lot on their plate. And so basically back at the CRO headquarters, they've got authorizing the sites for the shipment. They've got to initiate the request through the IRT, which chops it up into all the appropriate shipments. A lot there. It's got to be randomized. Dispatch the shipment from the depot, receive it at the pharmacy, confirm the quality. All of these things have to happen. Every little blue triangle relates to a notification that has to be sent to that person's iPhone to know that the job got done. And every white rectangle is a data set that is being tracked as part of the overall study protocol. It goes all the way through dispensing, resupply, follow-up visits, return, and destruction. And so what we did after that was to test it out. There are systems against the entire U.S. commercial supply chain, all 240,000 drug packages, all the expiration extensions and recalls, all the package inserts, all those things are in the palm of your hand on your iPhone. And then on the transaction side, the back end, we have got it running at 100 transactions per second. So you only need 3 servers to do the entire U.S. supply chain, and on the maybe one more for the clinical side. What have we been up to lately? We've been working on identity. What is identity? Identity is making sure that the right people are privileged to do the right things, and that each person, when they interact with somebody else, can be sure that they're talking to somebody who's the right person, that they're giving medical and health data only to other caregivers, that the wholesalers only get what they're supposed to get, that the CMOs only get what they're supposed to get, the couriers get what they're supposed to get, and that everybody's doing their job and everybody on the system is authenticated properly. We were very pleased to have some great partners there, bringing in once again our friends from UCLA Health, Genentech, member of the Roche Group, Sanofi, Amgen, all names you know. I'm now going to turn it over to Shota, who's going to give you a short tour of the Xatp app.
Under the federal DSCSA statute, pharmaceutical supply chain authorized trading partners, ATPs, are required to confirm that their trading partners are also authorized, even to provide information. This places a significant burden on the first and last miles of the supply chain to engage with new ATPs. Introducing Xatp, a framework for ATP authentication, drug verification, and saleable returns documentation. With Xatp, dispensers can easily obtain verifiable credentials for enhanced verification with drug manufacturers and generate product verification certificates to support saleable returns and custody transfers all on their iPhone. Xatp is available for dispensers in the App Store. Out of the box, dispensers can scan the 2D barcode on prescription drug packages in the United States and instantly access up-to-date information. The app also supports manual data entry in case the barcode is smudged or damaged. Before verifying a drug's authenticity with its manufacturer, the pharmacist in charge can apply for an ATP credential. This lets the manufacturer know the request is coming from someone they can trust. Once the pharmacist in charge is approved, they in turn can also onboard colleagues working as pharmacists and techs at their pharmacy as authorized representatives through power of attorney, making it possible for the pharmacy team to all work together. Once an ATP credential has been issued, the dispenser can submit drug verification requests to the manufacturer or repackager with the push of a button. Xatp's master data management identifies the appropriate responder and sends them a secure message. Under the DSCSA, the manufacturer has 24 hours to respond to verification requests, which can be achieved with a single click of their mouse. Back at the pharmacy, the verification status is updated in real time. In the event of a failed verification, dispensers have all of the information they need to follow up with trading partners and, if necessary, the FDA. Xatp also provides dispensers with the tools they need to support transactions involving third-party ATPs, such as saleable returns. Product verification certificates can be generated within the Xatp app and sent to other parties, such as fellow pharmacy colleagues and trading partners. The holder of a product verification certificate has the ability to check the certificate's authenticity through a secure web portal. This certificate seal only carries the information needed to authenticate the original certificate, keeping counterfeiters at bay. With Xatp, dispensers have a powerful new tool to rapidly attain compliance with enhanced drug verification under the DSCSA. Manufacturers have the option to unlock real-time verification, robust business intelligence, and greater security with machine-to-machine gateways that automatically process verification requests from the Xatp network and other VRS providers. All of this is possible on day zero, with only the dispenser needing to sign up for an ATP credential to submit drug verification requests and generate product verification certificates that can be easily leveraged by other authorized trading partners. By unlocking rapid compliance with the DSCSA, Xatp charts a new path for tens of thousands of ATPs to securely interoperate with trading partners and improve outcomes for their patients.
Thanks, Shota. That was awesome. All right, we've covered the foundational stuff. Let's move on to cell and gene. So cell and gene comes in a lot of flavors, but obviously what you're looking at in almost every case is what we call a circular supply chain with a lot of personally identifiable information. The PHI, there's a lot there because it tends to track around. You've got donor PHI, patient PHI, a lot going on. So how do we do that? Let's drill down on the allogeneic clinical side. Pretty complicated. So what you've got is donor cells that are prepped and weaponized and then sent to the patient, and all of that gets tracked. How does it get tracked? We talked about Xatp, that's the identity side of things. So basically all the donors, all the patients, all the caregivers, all have their own identity on the system. And then the events, that's the interaction of all these folks and all the things that we're tracking along with it. Temperature, when did it leave, and when did it arrive, and when did it get QA'd, when did it get approved, when did it get administered. All those things have to be checked and rechecked in real time. Why is that? Well, nowadays things are moving so fast that a lot of times the cells get weaponized, they jump on the airplane, they haven't been QA'd yet. You don't want to shoot them into a patient's arm until the QA is hit. So you got to keep track of all these things and look for the little green flag to pop up. And then all of this stuff has to get wrung out of the system, encrypted for deep learning and notifications. So it's a very exciting opportunity, an exciting time, but the thing to think about is this. The cell and gene technology borders on magical, but people don't want to rely on magic. They want it to be reproducible. And you've got to have a digital system behind it to make the magic work. Well, that was awesome. Thanks so much. Appreciate your time. You can reach out to me at ledgerdomain.com or grab me after the session here, and I'll be in a breakout session, panel discussion, the new normal coming up in about 40 minutes.